What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well. And yeah, another weird and disgusting day, just as I expected, happened today. This is why I'm not trading, guys. I'm sure you can see why these markets are a mess and why I've been preaching to you. These are not the weeks and conditions to be trading in. So here's dollar. You can see we traded above our daily fair value gap that I brought our attention to in yesterday's video. Came up and then we came back down. On the 4 hour we did close below here, and we'll speak more on that in a bit. It's interesting to see that Wednesday's low and Tuesday's low are now still intact. So what's going to be residing below there? Sell stops, and my bias still remains the same. So if you've been watching my videos this week, you'll know that I do want to see a down close week, and ideally I do want to see dollar trade aggressively lower. Now, I do wish it was as easy as thinking that tomorrow we'll just trade smoothly lower and run for the weekly fair value gap, but I'm not going to be as confident in saying that purely because of non-farm payroll, and these 2 days I'm expecting a lot of craziness to happen. Now, you can see that Monday we had a large expansion. Tuesday and Wednesday we pretty much consolidated. So Thursday and Friday I'm expecting there to be a lot more movement. So as we take that into account, ideally we do see lower prices, and this daily fair value gap can hold its own, as in continue to provide resistance for price to then trade on lower and run for these stops here and here. If we do trade on higher, as I talked about in yesterday's video, we have this weekly bearish order block, and to see if it provides resistance, and if it doesn't, my next target would be this massive daily bearish order block as well. So I'm literally arguing both sides here, and that when you can argue both sides of the market so confidently like what I just did, it shows it's not conditions to be trading in, because usually if you know me, I have a strong bias. I know I want to see price go, and don't get me wrong, I do have a bias. I want to see price go down here, but price isn't giving me what I want to see. So because of that, you can just tell and sense the low probability. Now, before we drop down to the low time frame, I do highly advise you go and join the mailing list. I know I say this every video, but make sure to get your name on it. Got lots of content coming, as I keep saying. I still got to record some, but definitely join the mailing list. The link is in the description, and let's see what the 4 hour did. So as you can see, we traded higher, trading above that daily fair value gap, and then we traded below it, on a closing basis. So it'd be nice to see if this can provide resistance moving into Thursday. If we trade up and rally into this, I'd like to see resistance. And then if that's the case and we do see a nice break in market structure lower, I'd happily look for that Tuesday and Wednesday low to get targeted for price. It is nice to see that we did trade on higher, which is what I was talking about in yesterday's video. So that is also nice to see. One thing I do want to bring our attention to that we now need to be wary of is this fair value gap right here. So let's just get that drawn out. This is a 4 hour fair value gap. Now, if this provides support, we're likely going to see higher prices, because how I'm looking at this now is that we're stuck between this range, right? So if we trade through this, I'll be happy to look for shorts on dollar and longs on the pairs with the expectation to run for these lows, because as far as I'm concerned, dollar is probably going to struggle to get through this, especially since we wicked through it. So I'm going to be watching this fair value gap very closely, and I want to see how does dollar trade through it. Again, ideally dollar will just, pass through it, treat it as resistance, and then we can trade on lower, but it's possible we might see some very high resistance as we get to this range right here. So that's just something to take into account. Let's drop to the 1 hour, and you can see how much of an ugly day we had. Traded higher, very aggressive pullback, trading back into this bullish order block, and then another aggressive run higher. So we're constantly taking out buy stops. Took out buy stops here. Let's mark them out, shall we? Buy stops here, buy stops here, buy stops here. So to me, it makes sense that price does eventually now need to come down and release those buy stops somewhere. Where would that be? Below sell stops, which is another reason I'd like to see some kind of, downwards price action. So again, if you've been watching my videos this week, I was saying if we trade on higher, then I'd want to see a reversal on Thursday or Friday. So Thursday may give us that. There is still potential to run out these highs first. You know how crazy the markets have been, so it could have very well just whip up there and then trade on lower. But let's look at the 15-minute. Heavy consolidation here, guys. Very heavy consolidation. So like I said, if price rallies into this maybe during London, I'd like to think that it can provide resistance and then send price deeper and run for these relative equal lows that we have below here, and over here now. So that's how I'm looking at dollar. Overall, I want to be bearish, as I've been saying the whole week. This trail up, it took its time to do it, but this isn't really nothing new. I do believe this is what we call time dilation. So what's time dilation? Time dilation is basically when they when the market takes us an extra amount of time, it starts being really excessive in how long it takes to get to a certain level before reversing. So if we do see a strong reaction and start trading lower like we expected, I'd definitely see this whole range right here. Oh, excuse me. I'll definitely see this whole range as just time dilation and just, used purely for manipulation, because there's a reason we're not taking out any lows. This low hasn't been taken out yet. This low hasn't been taken out yet. This low now hasn't been taken out, and now we have this low as well. So there's a lot of orders that are going to be building up there, and I can only imagine price is going to want to draw down into them. Again, that would be ideal. So any kind of rallying, I'd be looking for shorts and then longs on the pairs accordingly. So that's how I'm looking at dollar. It'll be interesting to see if it does manage to fill this range. The fact that we didn't says a lot. Let's just take a closer look at this actually. So yeah, so we consolidated around that 50% level. But yeah, I guess we're just going to have to wait and see. So let's now let's now head over to GBP. We'll start on the daily here. I got rid of my markings again, guys. But yeah, so we had a up close day on Wednesday. Traded downward to the midpoint of this wick, very interesting, and came off of it. So this is a bullish signal, technically speaking. The fact that we're respecting that 50% level and we've come off it and we're closing above, the close of this previous candle is quite bullish to me, which would be supportive of the very bearish action we have on dollar, right? Of the bearish bias we have on dollar. So it'll be nice to see if moving into Thursday we do see a nice push higher. I'd like to think we can see some expansion to the upside. We have these highs up here, which I brought our attention to at the very beginning of the week, that I'd like to see us draw into, and then it would be this rejection block level. Now on the lower time frames, there are order blocks in this range, so we will talk about those as well. But generally speaking, it'll be nice to see if we can trade on higher with dollar, allowing price to fall, assuming it does. Let's go to the 4 hour, and you can see our price is, heavily consolidated on a 4 hour basis, but it's still, look at the volume. Volume is still remaining bullish. So if we look at a few order blocks, for example, this one right here, you can see our price came into it, and the price is continuously stepping above it, and, trading above. So this is showing strong support to me. We can look at the 50% level of this wick as well, and you'll see how we've respected that here and traded off. So we've grabbed stops. But look at volume. Volume is respecting the bullish order block. So these are all hints to higher prices for me. Let's say price does trade lower and dollar does rally higher. So be it. Ideally, I wouldn't want to trade or even bother being. I don't want to trade anyway. But remember, everything I'm showing and teaching you is just what I want to see. I want to see price do these things. Not just because I want to, but because that's what price is telling me. And that's how I'm reading it. So that's what I'm seeing. I want to see if price can... once it gets above these highs right here, I'd like to think that it can expand. I want to see expansion. I want to see movement. But let's go to the 1 hour, take a closer look. Absolutely disgusting. Oh my gosh. Yeah, disgusting. So we didn't trade lower on GBP. We did on Euro. If you watch yesterday's video, you'll see how beautifully we nailed that. But I'll talk on that when we get to Euro. So I was saying I wanted to see price trade lower, but you can see how pound failed to trade lower. We stayed in quite a strong consolidation, whipped right up here, and then came down and grabbed stops. So what was we doing? Let's take a closer look. So we've built stops up below here. This is sell side liquidity, isn't it? And what's happened now? We've grabbed those sell stops. What's above here? Well, we have buy side liquidity, don't we? And the market just goes from sell side to buy side, but we're bullish. So once it takes out this buy side, that's why I want to see expansion, because I expect once it runs for this, it might as well run for this, meaning it might as well run for this. And then this range right here is the range I was talking about where I see imbalances. So let's get this hourly fair value get marked out, because if price is to trade up tomorrow, I'd like to think that it would trade into this imbalance right here, this hourly one. It's taking longer than expected, sorry guys. There we go. So now we have some bullish PD arrays that I'd like to think price can trade to. Where's the lowest I'd allow price to trade? Well, we have this range right here. I think when we drop down to the lower time frames, hopefully we can find something to key off of. So you can see again, strong consolidation, but overall we've broken higher. I do believe that this high is the change in the state of delivery. So let's get that marked out. I always make my changes in the state of delivery orange. Oh yeah, another thing to talk about. If you watched yesterday's video, you remember there was a level I brought our attention to, wasn't there? And we traded right into that to the tick. Do I remember where it was? Here. So I was talking about this low yesterday's video right here, and you can see how we traded up to that there. Now obviously we ran it, so I guess it really didn't do what it was supposed to, but it's very interesting to see how price is referring to these levels, and how ironic is it, or how coincidental is it now that that level is pretty much lined up with this level as well. Anyway, moving on. So my ideal day tomorrow, what would it be? It would be for price to come down, trade into this. We also have a fair value gap and a small little breaker right here as a discount PDRA, trading to this, find support, and then run higher for the rest of the day, run out buy stops above here, run out these stops and into our hourly fair value gap. That will be my ideal day. If this level gives way, so if this fair value gap on the 15-minute with the breaker, low, high, lower, low, broke higher, if this fair value gap gives way and we trade through it on the downside, we'll probably see large expansion to the downside, running down into this range. Now, if I was going to trade, I'd only trade on the buy side purely because I'm bullish. But if it trades below this and starts trading down, I'll probably just leave it, let it do its thing. But I hope that all makes sense. So what's happened? We've grabbed those sell stops, a lot of consolidation. I do believe they're defending this level now. This is a change in the state of delivery because it's a breaker, low, high, lower, low. Traded above that now. So as price comes back into this range, maybe during London, it should be able to provide support to then send price into buy side liquidity, relatively high, up here, and then this beautiful buy side up here. I'll show you what I'm talking about. It's these two highs right here, and then the hourly fair value gap. So that's how I'm looking at GBP. Should be quite an interesting day. Again, it seems like a nice setup's going to form. Whether it will play out is another story, because I said the same thing yesterday. Oh, a nice setup is forming, but look what happened. We had some craziness. But generally speaking, this is August consolidation. And if we look at this low and this breaker, low, high, lower, low, and we drag out the breaker, realistically, this is why I call it time dilation. Realistically, all that's happened is that we've just traded higher and came back into a breaker. So as far as I'm concerned, price should now be permitted to trade on higher, because we haven't disrespected this low, and we're still respecting this reversal. But we'll speak more on that tomorrow, depending on how price trades. Let's finish up on pound. In fact, before I do that, not pound, sorry, euro. Let's put an I here because I'm watching this box right here to get traded to for the low of tomorrow. Let's now, and this is the thing, guys, let me just quickly go back. This is the thing, if we trade through this, I now know my expectation for price is like deleted. Like, okay, it's not going to do that. It's as simple as that. We just let it get there, and then we can, based off that, we can trade and make our decisions. We don't always need to know exactly what's going to happen. We just need to know where we want to see it trade to and see how it treats it. If it disrespects it, so be it. Let price do its thing and we move on. So I just wanted to remind you of that, because that was a struggle that I definitely still go through sometimes, and I'm sure you guys do too. Like, you think you need to know everything. You really don't. Just have the levels marked out, and then if we disrespect it, just see it as the market telling you, okay, I don't want to do this. And voila. Anyway, let's look at euro now. Yeah, look at that. Disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Let's go to the daily. So we traded into this weird gap. I don't want to talk about the gap. But what was nice to see, on Wednesday we traded down into the bullish order block, which I brought our attention to. Look at that. Can't make that stuff up. And what was I saying? I was saying that once we trade down here, I'd want to see a reversal from there to trade on higher. So far as I'm concerned, we are still going along with what I wanted to see. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm permitted to still be bullish and permitted to still want to see higher prices. Let's move this here, because this is the high which I'd be targeting, alongside this rejection block level as well. Now let's go down to the 4 hour. And similar to pound, we took out sell stops, traded into the breaker. Again, I'm not going to explain everything, but go and watch yesterday's video. I spoke about this range, and look at that. We traded to literally the midpoint of that. You can't make this stuff up, guys. Anyway, traded down into it. We traded up into this range as well, ran out these stops. Not how we did it, not how I expected us to. I did want to see us trade higher first and then run for these lows. In fact, did we? Well, technically we did. We traded lower and then higher and then lower. But seeing us trade this deep first drove me insane, because what I was expecting was consolidation, trade higher and then trade lower. But you can see how euro was very, very cheeky with it, came very close to this low, Why? Build in sell stops, then ran out the stops, which I drew our attention to above here, if you remember, and then went for the lows. And then from then on, I'm now expecting us to be able to reach up into our buy side liquidity up here. So yeah, pretty much the same as pound. Let's go to the 15-minute and see what we can key off. Now we need to look for the change in the state of delivery, as in where's the break of the last up closed candle. Well, I'm looking at this range right here. Let's draw this candle out and let's make it a different color because it's getting a bit messy over here, isn't it? It's not a very good color, Sean. There we go. Right, so this is the breaker. So I'm happy for price to dip down into this. We also have a nice 15-minute fair value gap and order block right here. So this is the lowest I want to see price go on in tomorrow. So let's say price trades through this and disrespects it. Same thing. Let it do its thing. It might want to trade on lower. If that's the case, I was simply wrong, and then we can look for these sell stops to run for. But ideally, what I want to see is us come down in here, find respect, maybe touch this at a nice time like 3 a.m., 4 a.m., or just before the news, and then send price higher. And then I'd look for this high to get taken out first, and then I'd simply start thinking about all of this range to get filled and potentially this high as well. So that's going to be everything, guys. I hope that all makes sense. Very interesting time in the markets. Make sure to join the Discord as well. It has been popping in there. A lot of activity, a lot of stuff going on. So join the Discord. I am active in there. All these links are in the description, so get yourself down there, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Peace.